Welcome to Oklahoma Sportscene, this edition, our 98th edition of Oklahoma
98.
Sports. 98, I guarantee you. And of course, Chris Lincoln's not here. He and Becky are taking their 5-year-old granddaughter, Carly Ann, to Disney World so they can be there when Patrick Mahomes shows up.
That's right.
But with us here on the show today is Bill Hastings of Tulsa World, our good friend and colleague. And we'll also have some excellent guests today. Jerry Ostroski will come and talk about the Super Bowl.
And a little TU basketball.
And TU basketball, absolutely. And Bob Stoops, we have an interview with Bob Stoops about his new venture into the XFL. Jonathan Brown, our new head football coach at Booker T. Washington. Zach Reynolds, who is the public relations director for the Tulsa Oilers and been on the road. I think he told me that over the next month he'll be 55 days either in the office or on the road with them.
55 out of 56.
Out of 56,
Yeah,
that's right. He gets one day off, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then to wrap up, we'll have Michael Knight to talk about the BOK Showcase. Its 5th year and what an outstanding gig it was this past weekend. Well, Bill, what do you think? We got the Super Bowl. What do you know, all the conjecture about the halftime being out of place, but the football game was absolutely fantastic.
It was. And, you know, it not only did Kansas City come back again, I mean, this is what this team should be remembered for. Double-digit deficits in all 3 playoff games, rally and win, and obviously a very deserving champion. But, you know, Patrick Mahomes wasn't at his best yesterday. You know why? Because San Francisco's really good defensively.
That's
really
exactly
good.
right.
And yet, do or die time, I think you would agree, absolute do or die time for the Chiefs.
Yep.
He hits the deep throw to Tyreek Hill. They punch in a touchdown, and they wind up, you know, coming back from 10 down in the 4th quarter to winning comfortably 31-20.
Well, I tell you, there's no question that I thought that both defenses played pretty well. The San Francisco defense really, as you said, shut him down. But when they had to make that play, they did. And I think the athleticism of Kansas City and their skill players, their receivers and running back and the quarterback, overshadowed just a little bit that number 1 defense. But what a ball game. I mean, you know, it was right down, well, what did they score, 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes and 20 seconds or something?
No, at the 6.5-minute mark, I got a message from a friend, and he's basically, you know, conceding to the 49ers. I said, no, way too early. And I was right. I mean, because Mahomes can do what he does, and because I'd seen them, they were down a lot more than that against the Titans.
Exactly.
And scored 50 on Tennessee. So, no, great. You know, you and I both know scores of Chiefs fans, long-suffering Chiefs fans around here, and I'm very happy.
50 years.
Very happy for all those people.
Well, I tell you, and of course, the commercialism of the game, and we'll ask Jerry Ostroski that when he comes in, because he's in that marketing premium seat thing. But the commercialism of the game, over 114.4 million people watched the Super Bowl this time. And in 1967, the very first commercial cost $37,000. And yesterday on the Super Bowl, it was $5.6 million for 30 seconds.
It's unbelievable.
You think the NFL's not making money?
That's right.
But, you know, football's not over. We've got a caveat here where now our good friend, former football coach at the University of Oklahoma, Bob Stoops, is down with the Dallas Renegades, and they opened this weekend.
The Renegades play at Globe Life Park, which was for 26 seasons the home of the Texas Rangers. Well, now the Rangers are moving into a new ballpark just about an 8-iron away from the old ballpark.
Right, side by side.
And so I don't know if you've seen pictures of what it looks like with the football field.
No, I haven't seen it.
It looks like an old 50s era, you know, when like Baltimore and New York used to
Polo grounds.
Yeah.
New York.
When they would wedge a football field onto a baseball surface, it looks like that. But it's going to be fine.
Well, it's a place to play, and you know.
No, absolutely, and I guess it's going to be the place as long as this league goes. I didn't know what they would do with that old park. I say old. It's only 26 years old, and anyways, don't get me
and the
started on
commercialism of professional athletics.
Oh, Coach,
you have to have something new.
Well, you know, I mean, think about. I mean, you were talking about the, you know, $37,000 versus $5.5 million for a 30-second spot, which is unfathomable. But I mean, really starting in my mind in the early 90s, the Cowboys and the Bills played in the Rose Bowl. Michael Jackson performs at halftime. Amazing, in my mind, though, that's the point at which the Super Bowl kind of shifted away from being about football to being about it's a production as much or more than a game. It just happens to have football kind of weaved in there.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, and this is something we learned at the small college level when I was there, and now in the high school levels. If you're selling tickets, you're selling entertainment. I don't care what level it is. If you charge to get in, you've got to entertain people while they're there. And if you don't, you're not going to get them to come back. And I think that's the thing. Well, speaking about entertaining people, what about that Tulsa Golden Hurricane?
That was Saturday at the Reynolds, this past Saturday at the Reynolds Center. Long time basketball rival Wichita State came in for a high-stakes American Athletic Conference game at the Reynolds Center. Ton of, I say a ton, about 25% of the house was Wichita State people. Sort of had a OU Texas vibe to it, Coach. It really did, from a noise standpoint. Anyway, if you're not aware, Tulsa hits a walk-off shot. Elijah Joyner hits a three, a contested three from a tall, lengthy defender who really actually did a great job to contest the shot without fouling. But Elijah Joyner hits one of the biggest shots in TU history, knocks it down. Tulsa walks away with that win. And at the same time, Houston, almost exactly synced at that moment. Houston loses by 2 to Cincinnati, and Tulsa, about the time that ball went through the net for Elijah Joyner, they're in first place.
What a great time for Joyner, too. His dad seen him play his first game, and he gets the game winner at the end. That's really, really incredible. The rest of the show, we're going to have Jerry Ostroski come on, the number 55, the retired jersey at the University of Tulsa, the premium seat person. And I tell you what, there should be some premium seats ready for this next ball game.
Hey, listen, Connecticut, UConn plays at the Reynolds Center on Thursday night.
Right. Early game, 6. 6
and so it's what I pointed out in my column after the Wichita State game. The difference between that game and this game, the 2,000 Wichita State people will not be at this game.
No, they won't.
So it's up to the Tulsa people to fill that building up and for it to watch a really likable, compelling Golden Hurricane.
Well, when we come back after these messages, we'll have Jerry Ostroski to talk about the Super Bowl and TU basketball.
Cheers. Cheers. All right, y'all, how's everything tasting?
That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
Hey, Jen, could you come here, please?
Hey, Sammy, what's up?
Could you tell Winston the 2019 pilots on CRVs are priced to sell this month?
Okay. Winston, Sammy says pilots and CRVs are priced to sell this month. He seems pretty excited.
Yeah, he is.
Hurry in today and find huge savings on all remaining 2019 pilots and CRVs.
Hey, Winston, get excited.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene. Now for our first guest, we have Jerry Ostroski. Jerry is the premium seat director or coordinator?
Premium seat.
Premium?
I don't even know what my title is. Kind of everything.
He takes care of the premium
I'm kind of
seats.
like a Navy SEAL. I do a little bit of all.
There you go.
And you just don't know about it.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, we're going to talk about Super Bowl, but then we're going to talk about some basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Been pretty good. What do you think about the Super Bowl?
Well, the best part about coming back 2 weeks and come back another week is what I said last week is on tape.
Right.
And it happened exactly how I said it was going to happen.
Yep.
Which is basically the Niners did a better job than anybody. That they just about held on to win, but eventually there's just too much speed. There's too much playmaking ability. There's too much there by Kansas City on offense.
Yeah.
You just can't contain them. You can't win. You can't score 20 points and sit back and think you're going to win.
No.
You got to put points on the board. And one of the things, I mean, you even look at Mahomes, who didn't have a great day. A big part of him not having a great day was that pass rush we talked about from that 49er.
Absolutely.
Even when it doesn't get home, you're still antsy as a quarterback.
It's there, yeah. You see it, feel it.
Yeah, but 3rd and 15, he gets 50. And the rest is history.
That's right. That play changed the game. And you think about it, too. Kansas City had 9 possessions, Jerry. They got points on 5 of those. That's better than 50% against the best defense in the league.
Just think about it,
one
Bill.
up for sure.
The 49ers basically did everything they wanted to do. They controlled the clock. They played, no big plays. They played a shell on the back end. They got pressure with minimal guys up front with basic looks, and they still couldn't get it done.
Well, the athletic ability, like you said, I think was the key. You can only hold down those guys so long.
Exactly.
Some get loose, and like Hill and Mahomes is a good athlete.
And Garoppolo's kind of like an option quarterback. He's going to be good while the lead's there, but once you get behind some scores, it's tough on him.
He manages the game.
Yes,
he's not going to make that great big play.
Right.
Although he threw well early, but later he didn't.
I don't know that I can remember, Jerry, an entire sport being as happy for one guy to win a championship as football seems to be for Coach Reed. So, I mean, you're obviously a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which by extension, I presume, an Andy Reid fan. I mean, so is that your takeaway from it, that you're just glad to see him finally get a ring?
I am. I'm happy for Andy. I mean, he did a tremendous job at Philadelphia. He just couldn't get over the hump. I mean, 5 NFC championship games, wins 1, loses the Super Bowl. The thing about Andy is he treats everybody so well. So that's why every player that was interviewed or any player that was turned into an analyst, Randy Moss, any of them, had nothing but great things to say about him. And it's true. He's a good guy. He had some hardship in his life with his family.
Oh, no doubt.
Overcame it, and now he's I can't remember. Is he 2-time Super Bowl champion? Did he win with Holmgren in Green Bay?
I don't remember the time.
First time as a head coach? I'm not sure.
For sure, it's the first time as a head coach, but I don't remember whether he was.
He might have been.
Part of
He
that
might have been on
90s,
his staff.
Packers staff. I bet he was.
No.
But I mean, I heard somebody in the national post game last night say, "Well, this solidifies Andy Reid for the Hall of Fame." No, he was already. He's a sixth or 7th all time in wins. So. But I was happy for Andy Reid, very much so, and for guys like obviously Mahomes and Honey Badger. He was one of my favorite players.
I'm a big fan of the reclamation story. I think everybody deserves a second chance, and he ran with it. He matured quite a bit. Still has a great affinity for Les Miles, even though Les was the one that had to remove him from the team. Went up to Kansas for a recruiting deal this summer, a camp, and then in their hype video at KU. Is Tyrann Mathieu. So that's all you need to know about him.
Looking at the TV yesterday, obviously for 3.5 hours, one of the quickest Super Bowls ever, they said, even with halftime.
Yep.
Your experience in the Super Bowl, how's it changed?
It's not about the fans anymore. I mean, they still play the game, but somebody asked me, how could you have a Super Bowl in such a small stadium? Because it's not about fans. Yeah. Those are all corporate tickets, and maybe a quarter of the people in the stadium are fans. It's about making money. When you're spending $5.4 million on a 30-second commercial, come on, man.
It seems like, Jerry, maybe if you draw the line, and I kind of do, at the Michael Jackson halftime, with Buffalo, Dallas, the first Super Bowl, Michael Jackson performance. See, from that point on, the Super Bowl went from being a game to a production.
Yeah, an event.
And it'll never, and we're not going back.
Right.
No. If anything, it'll just get bigger and bigger and less with football as kind of the almost a sidebar to the event.
Exactly.
Yeah, when they said 65,000 people yesterday, I said that can't be right.
The same stadium I played in 1994 when I played my first regular season NFL game. That stadium. It was known as Pro Player back then, or Joe Robbie, one or the other. Yeah. And all they've done is dressed it up, but it's still the same stadium that's ever been there.
Well, let's talk about TU basketball. Now, premium tickets, are they going really good now?
If we had some premium tickets in the arena to sell. No, it's the team's playing really, really well. the thing that I think they're doing better than that they've done in quite some time is the defensive side of the game. Is what they're doing is tremendous on the defensive end, and you know, three players of the week in a row now for the AAC. So Thursday night, UConn, kind of a touchy start time. We got to start at 6 o'clock, which is not.
I hadn't even seen that. So your man Joyner is the player of the week.
Yep, Joyner's player of the week. Yep. So you've had Horn, Joyner, and Manny.
So would you agree, though? I think I texted you this. The Joyner shot, his post game reaction to his dad having been in the gym, all of that seems to have resulted in the most national attention on Tulsa basketball over a 48-hour period in a long, long time.
Well, I texted our assistant athletic director of marketing last night, and I said, "Hey, how much did you have to come out of budget? How much did you pay for that top 10 SportsCenter top 10 #1 deal by Elijah, and then all the other 20 to 30 sports centers after that and updates that they put?" I go, "How much did you pay for that?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't think sports matter, you're crazy."
Yeah,
priceless, absolutely priceless. Well, you got that big game, and they won 3 in a row. What do you think postseason?
Well, they got to keep winning. Yeah. I mean, they had a couple of tough losses early. They didn't quite figure out the defense early enough. Now, I mean, defense. This team sets a lot of stuff up on offense. They get a lot of breaks, things of that nature. They are, even though it's not an amazing amount, they are shooting the 3 ball better than they've shot in quite some time. They were 7 of 14 on Saturday, where Wichita State was 7 of 31. So they're shooting the ball a little bit better. Guys like Joyner are starting to take games over when need be.
But that's just it, though, Jerry. The UConn game out there in the previous game, Igbanu goes off, and he's by far the player of the game and the reason they won the game.
Right.
Well, your big top 3 scorers in this game, Brandon and Igbanu and Jariah Horn, offensively they didn't provide much, but yet Joyner steps up and wins the game. He had a great game. So I guess my point is it's seriously encouraging that you don't have one go-to figure or two that you got to have great performances from. It's a more balanced team.
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, Jerry, thank you for being here, and you get a little Bricktown. It's 2 weeks in a row.
Thank you. It's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
have me on next week. I'll get enough for a meal.
Well, you know, Jerry, one of the things that we've got to talk about is the Super Bowl is over, but football is not. We'll have Bob Stoops when we come back.
The service is amazing.
Food's delicious.
I love the avocado fries.
I love the energy.
Local beer, great food, truly friendly service.
Look all right for you?
Bricktown Brewery, come and get it.
Each week we talk about the GTR, and we know for a fact that Forrest Cameron and his wife Sharon put out a tremendous paper. Well, I brought all 6 of them today. I'd like for you to see them. The Union Bound Dairy, and here is the Owasso Rambler. And if you live in Bixby, how about the Bixby Breeze or Broken Arrow, the Broken Arrow Express, Jinx, District Gazette, and then of course the Tulsa Midtown. All of those, the GTR. If you haven't had an opportunity to read one, do it, and you'll be proud of it.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene. Bill and I thought football was over, but it's not. The XFL starts this week, and Coach Bob Stoops has some comments in his first interview on the field down in Dallas.
Are you happy to be back in the game and just coaching?
I am. I'm obviously it's why I'm doing it. I love football, and this is an opportunity to be out here working with. 1 second here, sorry. Get it going. Walk through. So anyway, I love it, you know. So I am excited working with these good, really great, good football players and mature guys that know their football. So it's been fun.
Do you think some of the guys are in awe that they get to be coached by Bob Stoops?
I don't think so. I don't look at anything that way. I've never looked at myself that way. So you'd have to ask them. I don't look at it. That's not my nature to think that way.
For a fan, what are some of the biggest differences between XFL and NFL or college?
You know, quite a bit. Well, I'd say quite a bit, not really. It's good football. We'll have a little quicker play clock. We'll have extra points that'll be exciting, you know, from the 2 to 5 or the 10-yard line. We can have 2 passes behind the line of scrimmage, which will lend itself to some exciting plays. Our overtime will be more fair. Both teams will have an opportunity to have the ball as opposed to whoever wins the coin toss and they score, the other team doesn't get it. So, you know, all those things I think will be a little bit different, but a little more exciting too.
You mentioned that you were excited. One of the things that's excited to play in a field like this, obviously, a former MLB ballpark, a big venue. You know, what can you say just about now that you're actually here? You know, seeing how it's been changed to fit, you know, the football and what it looks like.
Yeah, it looks awesome. This is a great park, and you know, it has been for a long time. Now we just got a football field on it instead of a baseball field, but it's a great place to come watch the game, and you know, hopefully we get a great crowd out here. I think it's going to be really family friendly and fun to watch, and very affordable to be here. So all of it together hopefully leads to some good crowds.
Well, it looks like Coach Stoops is ready to play, Bill.
If you know, I really always leaned toward the expectation that he would coach again. This isn't what I had in mind.
No, me
I
neither.
thought Notre Dame, Florida, ultimately not the XFL, yet here we are. I'm not sure what the end game is for Bob Stoops, if this is a platform that he might use to try to get an NFL job out of, if it's just kind of a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because Bob's 59, he'll be 60 in September. Certainly not old, healthy guy. So I don't know. I mean, I watch because it's football and because I'm curious what it's going to look like. And I know it's not going to be the clown show that they did 20 years ago with the XFL. And, you know, I mean, Landry Jones is hurt, unfortunately, but ultimately we'll get to watch him play quarterback again for the Renegades. But, I mean, there's other guys, former Sooners, Frank Alexander, Jeff Badette, former Texas quarterback Gerard Hurd is on this roster. And there's guys we're familiar with throughout the league. I'll watch it for sure. And you know what, the ratings for the first weekend will be great.
Well, sure.
They will be.
Well, they're on major networks.
That's right.
I mean, they got ESPN, ABC, and Fox, so
right.
they're going to be able to be seen. They're playing Saturday, Sunday rotation.
The
with
Dallas
one Thursday in
Renegades
there.
play at 4 o'clock Sunday.
Right.
And I believe, I forgot the network, but it's a 4 o'clock.
ESPN.
It's ESPN. 4 o'clock Sunday, Bob Stoops' debut in the XFL.
And the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Well, there you go.
Whatever a Battlehawk is.
It's
I'm telling you, I'm like you. I don't see Bob Stoops moving from Norman, Oklahoma. Ever.
No. Well, not for an XFL gig. No. But I mean, you know, he might get into this and decide, you know what? Like Jonathan Brown said, you know, there's nothing like being in the middle of it to stoke the flames of, you know, your competitive fire. And Bob might say, boy, I missed the heck out of this.
Absolutely.
And I want back in it at the highest level. So we'll see.
Well, you never know. I mean, you know, that's one of those things that he gets in there and gets involved, and, you know, who knows? Well, coming up next, we'll have Jonathan Brown that Bill mentioned, who is the new head football coach at Booker T. Washington. He's going to tell us about his background and what his plans are for the Hornets. So stay tuned.
Hey Mo, you feeling tired after the holidays?
Actually, no. I just did some laps this morning.
Laps? How far did you run?
Who said anything about running? I took the TLX.
Right now, you'll find incredible lease specials on all 2020 TLXs, in addition to our huge inventory of certified pre-owned vehicles.
Wait, you're going again?
Consistency, Jan. It's key.
I bring Tulsa's voice to Oklahoma City and Washington. I build relationships with elected officials and community stakeholders to develop policies that grow the Tulsa region. I loved my time at Rogers State University. The personal relationships I developed with professors really helped develop a skill set that would help me serve the Tulsa region that I care about. It all started for me at Rogers State University.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene. Today we have joining us the new head football coach of the Booker T. Washington Hornets, Jonathan Brown. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome to be the head coach.
Yes, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We are excited about what you bring to the future of Booker T. Washington. And tell us a little bit about your background and yourself and where you started out.
Well, obviously I came from Booker T. I graduated in '94. Actually, I'll back it up. I went to Carver in I think that's '88, '89. Then I went to Booker T from '91 to '94, playing football, and then went from there to University of Tennessee. So I played under Coach Fulmer from '94 to '97. Then I got drafted by the Packers, 3rd round. Bounced around, played for the Packers, the Rams, the Broncos, Chargers, a little bit in and out. And then sat out of football, and then went up and played Canadian League. Mm-hmm. So I went up to Canada for about 6-7 years. And then went back to Tennessee because I promised my mother that I would always get my degree, and went back in 2010 and finally got my degree.
Excellent.
And now I'm here.
And we're glad you are.
Yes.
So you told me that you grew up in Wewoka.
Yes.
And you came up to S.C. Williams Stadium with your dad to watch Cale Gundy and Midwest City against the Hornets in a big game, like 2 top 5, top 10 teams nationally. And you said that game had a big impact on you.
Oh, it did. Just being in a small town, Wewoka, we never, Tulsa was the big city. Oklahoma City was the big city. And we lived in Wewoka, driving 4-wheelers and just watching great games, great football games on TV. We had my dad had a cousin, and so he brought me up here, and that was like the most magical night ever. When I stepped into S.C. Williams and seen all those people, seen all those big time athletes, because obviously I had read about Cale Gundy and knew what kind of football player he was.
Right.
And then coming up here, starting to learn Booker T tradition, and just understanding that, wow, this is the place I wanted to be. And after that game, I was like, Dad, we got to move. We got to come up here.
Your dad gets a job, y'all move up here. You're an all-state guy at Booker T, highly recruited guy, could have gone to either Bedlam School, went to Tennessee, and then played with Peyton Manning for 4 years.
I like to say Peyton played with me.
All right.
It was an excellent experience, and obviously when I was there, I'm second all-time in sacks and single-season sacks behind Reggie White. And then I just got bumped to 4th all time in total sacks. Derek Barnett, who got drafted by the Eagles a couple years ago, ended up breaking that record. So I'm 4th all time in sacks over a 4-year period. So I had a great time there. We had a lot of amazing athletes. I learned a lot about football. I learned a lot about myself being in Knoxville for those 4 years.
Well, Bill mentioned it. Why Tennessee instead of staying home?
If I can be honest, I didn't really hit it off with Gary Gibbs. I don't know. I actually think that I had a better opportunity going to Oklahoma State than OU, just because I kind of liked Pat Jones was an interesting fellow, and
that's an understatement.
And I really enjoyed the conversations we had with Pat, and I used to go up there a lot actually, just to go watch some games on unofficial visits. But it actually came down between Tennessee and Nebraska. That was my last 2, Osborne and Fulmer, and I just didn't want to play in the cold weather. So I'd go down south.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about you. Came back in 10, and when did you start coaching?
Actually, Raymond Ships gave me an opportunity. One of my friends was coaching, and I was working at the Tulsa Boys Home then. with some youth, just trying to change lives. And one of my friends was like, I want to bring you back over to Edison to be D-line coach. And he was like, Coach Ships is over there. I'll run it by him if you would like. And I was like, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do it again. I kind of wanted to fade off into the sunset. But that was the best thing that happened in my life after football, was going over to Edison for that year with Coach Howe. He was the coach, and being over there with Coach Garner, who had been at TU and is a real good friend of mine, Dwayne Garner. And he brought me along, and I just got that itch. And like I was telling Bill the other day, when a lot of athletes get done playing that competitive drive and just to compete each day, you don't really catch that or get that anymore. You know, you can't go down to the Y and get that, or you can't go down here to the church and play basketball, where I like to go and play basketball. I wanted to get back into the fire, and being on Friday nights, being on the sideline, developing game plans, kind of got that itch back, and I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. And so after that, Coach D called me, and the rest is history.
So Booker, Bixby's got kind of a stranglehold on 6'8" right now. So that's the standard that you got to lift your guys up to. So I mean, you just said yourself before we started the segment, y'all had a great week, a great first week of off-season work, strength and conditioning type stuff. I mean, that's the part of football that fans don't understand or see. Is everything you're doing in September is a result of what you do in February and March and so on.
Oh, definitely. And going to college and going to the pro level, I learned that what you do when people are not watching is the most important thing an athlete can do. And so building, a lot of bulk strength, working on your quickness, working on your speed, just trying to enhance your craft is something that we'll do. And I'm changing some things at Booker T because I want us to get stronger so we can compete a lot better than we have been.
How does it feel to be the first Booker T grad in 40 years to be the head coach? You know,
I didn't know that. Bill wrote his column, and it's just, I would say, overwhelming, but a humbling experience. Coach Lacey, which he wasn't a big figure, but when Coach McGee and Coach A was here, he would always come back and be on the sidelines watching football, and I got a chance, the opportunity to meet him. So it's a very humbling experience, and one that I don't take for granted. And I'm going to coach these guys and get in the community and just do it to the utmost, because that's what Coach Lacey and all the guys that paved the way for me would want from me.
I wrote the piece last week, and I can tell you, Gil, got a lot of response from it, Facebook, email, etc. And so far he's batted 1,000. It's been overwhelmingly positive.
Well, we knew what we needed to do when we needed to do it. You know, the timing was right, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was.
Well, hey, welcome to Booker T and welcome to Sports Scene. We'll have you on again, I know. Yeah. And when we come back, we're going to have Zach Reynolds from the Tulsa Oilers.
Hey, Jen, could you come here, please?
Hey, Sammy, what's up?
Could you tell Winston the 2019 pilots on CRVs are priced to sell this month?
Okay. Winston, Sammy says pilots and CRVs are priced to sell this month. He seems pretty excited.
Yeah, he is.
Hurry in today and find huge savings on all remaining 2019 pilots and CRVs.
Hey, Winston, get excited.
Cheers.
All right, y'all, how's everything tasting? That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. We have Zach Reynolds from the Tulsa Oilers Public Relations Office. And Zach, boy, it's been a hectic season so far.
It certainly has been, a little bit on the uptick right now, which is good. And I'm playing really good hockey, but started off a little slow, nothing like the start we had last year. And getting ready for a pretty heavy road schedule coming up here, 8 home games left. So,
boy,
getting to that time of year.
So you guys, Zach, are, if I remember right, you're 5th in the division.
Yes, correct.
You are 6 or so points behind Rapid City.
Yes.
So it's certainly not insurmountable, but you do have 8 of the next 12 away from home.
Correct, yes. So it makes it a little bit harder. Our road record isn't where we want it to be right now, but it's certainly improved as of late. In fact, right now we're coming off a stretch where we've gotten at least a point in 9 out of our last 10 games, which is huge. We had the longest active point streak for a while, seven games. So that was nice to have. Our goaltending's really been stepping up. So it's trending in the right direction. At one point, we were dead last in the division, actually. And we've just been climbing and climbing. We just hopped Kansas City and Wichita recently. So got 3 games down the stretch against Rapid City. We really need to win all 3 of those. And if that's the case, then I think we have a really good chance.
But I mean, you got so many guys, I say so many, you have a handful of guys, including Coach Murray, who were involved in a Game 7 in the conference finals last year. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
So they have it within them to have a great month, make up that difference in the standings, and then to go into the postseason with a head of steam.
Yeah, a ton of resilience from this team lately, because when you're last in the division and you're playing in what is pretty much unanimously agreed in our league is the toughest division, it's easy to fold up shop. We've seen teams do it year in, year out, and this team certainly hasn't. And I think that's all from Rob. It's just he's been so on top of the guys about just making sure that the season stays on track, switching up the play style to fit the players, and obviously it's working for her.
They come off a big win this past weekend,
yes.
And then you've got 2 home games back-to-back Friday, Saturday.
Well, we're on the road this Friday, Saturday, but
that's right.
But then we come back at home on the Tuesday, and we have big road win this weekend. Put a good drubbing on Kansas City, picked up a point in the overtime loss the night before that. Only game we've lost in regulation recently was to Allen, who is running away with the league this year. So obviously we can beat any team. We pulled it within 1 with Allen. We came back from the brink 3 separate times in the game, just couldn't close it out. So going to head to Central Division, which is always nice because there's not maybe the pressure to win the game in regulation, because you don't really care if you split the points outside your own division. Our league takes the top 4 teams in each division only, and there's no wild card like the NHL.
I have no higher respect for any athletes than I do for hockey athletes, and at the ECHL level, the travel is beyond a grind. It's maybe the most difficult travel in sports, and so when you have a 14-hour bus ride, and you don't have many of those, but you have a lot of 8s.
Yes,
and 10s,
a lot of 8s, a lot of 10s, a lot of 12s.
So what is the primary, how do these guys kill time typically? Is it all sleep, some movies? I mean, how do you kill 10 hours on a bus?
A lot of sleep, a lot of movies. And it's a good experience, I think, for those guys. It really bonds them. You see these guys keep up all over the summer. They don't really get sick of each other, even though they're rolling around on a bus all day waiting. Luckily, for a lot of the long trips this year, we've been flying. We flew to Boise, we flew to Salt Lake, so that was really nice. It cuts down on the grind.
Boise last year.
Yes, did bust to Boise last year and bust to Utah last year, but we got to fly this year, which is nice. And it kind of showed, I think, against the Steelheads when we played in Boise. They're now the 3rd team in our division. They were the 2nd, and we're 6-1-1 against them on the year. So,
any help come from the parent club?
Could be some coming down the wire soon. Both St. Louis and Anaheim are getting healthy. They've both dealt with a lot of injuries early in this season. They're having guys get back into shape, which means the trickle down comes down to us eventually.
So now that you've sampled most of the, if not all of the venues in the league, I always hear that BOK Center Ice is sensational.
It is really nice,
and obviously the building speaks for
itself.
Right. But how does it rank league wide with all things considered?
I've had the pleasure of skating on the BOK Center Ice a couple of times. It's really nice. There's some really good buildings in our league. It's kind of mixed out. We're ranked the 7th best minor league rink in the country, or the arena, I should say, as that includes the AHL, the ECHL, and the SPHL, so AAA, AA, and A as well. Fantastic.
It does. It is fantastic.
Well, let's make sure that you get out to the BOK Center next Tuesday, the 11th, and have the Oilers come on. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the BOK Showcase with Michael Knight.
The service is amazing.
Food's delicious.
I love the avocado fries.
I love the energy.
Local beer, great food, truly friendly service.
Look all right for you?
Bricktown Brewery, come and get it.
Hey Mo, you feeling tired after the holidays?
Actually, no. I just did some laps this morning.
Laps? How far did you run?
Who said anything about running? I took the TLX.
Right now, you'll find incredible lease specials on all 2020 TLXs, in addition to our huge inventory of certified pre-owned vehicles.
Wait, you're going again?
Consistency, Jan. It's key.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene, and now we have Michael Knight, who is going to go over the BOK Showcase. And boy, I tell you what, it's the fifth one, not consecutive, but it is the fifth one. And some good games and some not so good games.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those schedules where going into it, the lineup, you knew that there was a chance for some pretty special individual performances, and that's exactly what we got. There were some blowouts, but we did have some interesting matchups. Bryce Thompson, Trey Phipps. We had Mick Wilson on a couple weeks ago. He mentioned how those guys sell seats, and they did their thing on Saturday. But then BJ Jefferson from Central had a phenomenal game, and I've watched him grow over the last couple of years into one of the more, in my opinion, criminally underrated players in the state because he is so talented, so good. And, I think Central has a legitimate chance to compete for the 4A state championship.
Well, I do too, but I think Webster might have a shot too since they beat Memorial.
Yeah, and look, you talk about star power. Anthony Pritchard, a fantastic player for them. They're definitely going to have plenty of momentum. And it makes things interesting in Class 4A with the playoffs right around the corner. Everybody's talking about Kingfisher, the defending champs, and rightfully so. I had a chance to see them on Friday night in their star guard, Bijan Cortez, who committed to OU. He had a triple-double, can do just absolutely anything with a basketball. Fantastic player. But I'll tell you what, Central's going to give them a run for their money. Webster's going to give them a run for their money. And we saw in Tulsa earlier in December, Trey Alexander and Heritage Hall, they're not going anywhere either.
Michael, in football, we in the Northeast, we in the Tulsa County are wired to just expect we're going to have an East champion in football, obviously. But in basketball, it's a different deal altogether. Much more balanced on a championship level. Who from the West Side in 6A? Who from the West Side would you say are the most dangerous threats to Booker T at the top?
You start with Edmond Memorial. They definitely have some prestige as far as usually contending for championships. Shane Cowherd, one of the best coaches in the state of Oklahoma, in my opinion. They have a really good player in Sean Padula, who has continued to grow over the last couple of years. And then Midwest City, they're always going to be talented. Christian Cook, a fantastic player. Another good coach in Dwayne Bradley. Putnam City North, is always going to be a contender. They have some pretty good players as well. So I think that in
championship game last year.
Yeah, and Micah Thomas went on that fantastic run. And that's going to be what's interesting in March is, who's that individual who could go on that Micah Thomas-like run in March. I think before state last year, I think a lot of people would agree, PC North, probably not a pick to make it to the title game. Micah throws them on his shoulder. Next thing you know, they're playing on championship Saturday. I think that 6A on the boys' side this year is as wide open as it's been in recent years.
I would agree. Now, when I'm specified who from the West Side, obviously Jinx absolutely is a contender to win it all. Broken Arrow, I watched Broken Arrow and Booker T Friday night. Broken Arrow gave Booker T all they could handle. So, I'm not suggesting that Booker T is the Lone Ranger on the East Side. I'm just saying it's not like football. It's a very balanced 6A.
You're absolutely right. And I think that, look, you have to kind of lean to the Hornets given who's on that roster. And they are the defending champs, so you got to give respect to the champs. But you mentioned Jenks, an extremely balanced team. They can beat you in any kind of different way. Barry was on earlier and talked about how Clay Martin has that thing rolling. And it's so good to see Jenks back as a contender once again. And then, Union's always going to be a threat as well. They don't have the star power that they've had earlier in this decade.
You know what Union is, Michael? They're a team that nobody's going to want to play.
No. It absolutely, why would you want to volunteer to play a Rudy Garcia team in March?
No, they're like a really good 9 seed in the NCAA.
Well, I'll tell you what, you look at the tournaments when we get to regional pairings when those come out. There's going to be wars at every side. I think even that number 16 team is going to be there. It's going to be really a neat time, I think, for high school basketball.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the state tournament is one of my favorite things to cover every single year, and I get out as much as I possibly can to see as many teams from 6A all the way down to even some of the smaller A and B, and that 2-week stretch in March where teams are going to Oklahoma City, they're going to Tulsa. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and it's right around the corner.
Right.
Well, it sure is, and when we come back, we will have parting shots.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Hey Mo, you feeling tired after the holidays?
Actually, no. I just did some laps this morning.
Laps? How far did you run?
Who said anything about running? I took the TLX.
Right now, you'll find incredible lease specials on all 2020 TLXs, in addition to our huge inventory of certified pre-owned vehicles.
Wait, you're going again?
Consistency, Jan. It's key.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene. Barry Lewis and I have been co-workers at the Tulsa World for 27 years. He and Mike Brown provide the best high school coverage, not only in Oklahoma, but in my mind, in the country on a daily basis. And Barry is here now with the Don Carlton Honda sponsored Player of the Month Award and Coach of the Month Award.
All right, thanks, Bill. Our Player of the Month for January is Oologah basketball player Carly Wadsworth. She had quite a month, and her best performance of the month came in the Pryor Invitational, where she, in the championship game against 8th-ranked Veneta, she scored 31 points, matching her career high as she led Oologah to the championship. She was 6 of 9 from threes, 14 of 27 over the 3 games, and was named the tournament MVP. She signed for to play with Central Oklahoma, so UCO is getting a good one. She's averaging 17 points a game. So Carly Wadsworth of Oologah is our Don Carlton Athlete of the Month for January.
Impressive.
And our Coach of the Month is from Jenks High School, Clay Martin, our coach and NFL referee, Clay Martin, which makes what he has done at Jenks even more remarkable. He is the Jenks basketball team, as recently as 3 years ago, it was just, they were winning only like 3, and they only won 3 games, I think, that season, but he has really turned it around. He, Jenks is 15-1. Before the season started, I don't think anyone would have predicted, I mean, most people thought Jenks would be good, but not this good, not 15-1 good. And they've got a chance to be the Frontier Valley Conference champion and the East #1 seed. It has really been a tremendous turnaround he's led at Jenks. And of course, to pull this off, he's had to rely on because he's an NFL referee, and that does take a little bit of time during the season. He's had to rely on a really outstanding group of assistants, Kalen Dahl, Greg Calabrese, Mike Hayslip, Will Finfrock. They do a great job too, and as he will let you know, he couldn't do it without them. So Clay Martin of Jenks High School is the Don Carlton Coach of the Month, and that leads us to Friday night will be the big showdown at Booker T, Washington. Jenks at Booker T for the East #1 seed in all likelihood, and the Frontier Valley Conference title, and the Ring of Honor.
And a rematch.
I
attended that first game.
Yes, I remember you.
Yes.
I remember you calling me from that game that night. And That's Jinx's only loss of the year,
That's
and
right.
so Jinx will get a chance to avenge that. And besides all, if that wasn't enough going on, you've got the Ring of Honor on Friday night, where 21 Booker T legends will be inducted into the Hornets Ring of Honor between the girls and boys varsity games. That'll probably be around 7:15 to 7:30.
Right.
So it's just going to be a tremendous night at Nathan E. Harris Fieldhouse on the campus of Booker T. Washington.
If you really want to see a quality high school basketball, there's no question they have the two best teams, I think, on this side of the state, and we're going to see who is the number one seed, and that's very, very important, you know, to have that first round at home. And you know, as of late, the Hornets have played a little bit better, so it'll be an interesting game. I know that Booker T is off until Friday, and I don't know if Jinx plays tomorrow night or not, but that'll make a difference.
Jinx, it does have a Tuesday game playing Broken Arrow. So Booker T will have the benefit of a full week of rest. Booker T is coming off a tremendous week, sweeping 3 games last week. Big road wins at Union and Broken Arrow. And then they just played a beautiful game routing Bartlesville in the Hoop Showcase on Saturday. Bryce Thompson, huge week, 71 points. But more importantly for Booker T was Jalen Breath, who is their inside presence, and they need him to be playing well in order to win another state title. He had a really good week, and that's the key for Booker T. Can Jalen Breath stay out of foul trouble, stay on the court, because he's it as far as the inside presence.
Right.
You know what, though, if you had a plaque for the pass of the month, it would be the behind-the-back pass from Trey Phipps into the post at Broken Arrow the other night.
No, that was Bryce Thompson.
Well, it was Bryce. It was Bryce on that pass.
Trey made some really good passes that night, but that was Bryce. And that was
fantastic. And I mean, on the run, too. No, I forgot. Of course, it was Bryce. Bryce played beautifully that night.
It was a 2-point game with 1:30 left in the at that time. So just a tremendous clutch pass by Bryce Thompson, who, as his coach Conley Phipps says, he can do it all.
I will say this for Trey Phipps, though. He hit a corner 3 after he got stopped on a layup. He somehow ends up with the ball in the corner and knocks it down. That was a big shot as well. Yeah.
Never a fear. We'll be back with parting shots in just a moment. Thanks, Barry.
Hey, Jen, could you come here, please?
Hey, Sammy, what's up?
Could you tell Winston the 2019 pilots on CRVs are priced to sell this month?
Okay. Winston, Sammy says pilots and CRVs are priced to sell this month. He seems pretty excited.
Yeah, he is.
Hurry in today and find huge savings on all remaining 2019 pilots and CRVs.
Hey, Winston, get excited.
The service is amazing.
Food's delicious.
I love the avocado fries.
I love the energy.
Local beer, great food, truly friendly service.
Look all right for you?
Bricktown Brewery, come and get it.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene, and a little change up on our parting shots. We have Barry Lewis and Bill Haston, and Bill leads us off.
Well, I asked Barry to stick around because the month of January for Tulsa basketball, 7-1 record, after having lost 3 in a row to end December, 3 tough games, especially the K-State game. Now here we are at the midway mark, Barry, of the American Conference schedule. Tulsa 7-1 in first place, and in a 10-day span, Tulsa beats Memphis by 40 at home, wins in overtime at Connecticut, and had to overcome some adversity to do it, and then on an amazing walk-off shot by Elijah Joyner on Saturday in front of 8,000 at the Reynolds Center, here we are now. Tulsa's insult. In fact, the Houston-Cincinnati game ended at the exact time that the Tulsa game ended, which vaulted TU in the first place, sole possession. And I wanted Barry Lewis's perspective on this from a historical standpoint. It's a special time for TU right now.
It really is. It is very reminiscent of the glory days from 94 through 2003, which was the best 10-year period in TU basketball, in the Tubby and Bill Self and John Phillips era. And then also the Nolan Richardson era in that 5-year run in the 1980s. And it's also a little reminiscent, even going further back, of some special seasons that Ken Hayes had as TU's coach back specifically 1969 and 1973, where they had some really magical runs at this point of the season.
Wouldn't it be cool though if this Tulsa team sustains this special season on the 20th anniversary of the greatest season ever for Tulsa, the Bill Self Elite 8 season. So Tulsa plays. I guess this show airs on Wednesday night. Tulsa plays Thursday night at home against Connecticut. Should be UConn's last game ever at this arena. So there's a lot of basketball left to be played. But with regard to it being a pleasant surprise of a season, holy cow. I mean, I didn't see it coming. And what a great sign, too, Barry, that it's not just one or two guys they have to rely on every night to get these wins. It's different guys stepping up.
And that's what's got to be so encouraging because let's just say if an injury happens to one player, well, you don't want to see that, but you're going to have many people who are capable of filling in and stepping up. So they're not just dependent on that one player.
Really, it's been different guys throughout this run, Coach.
Well, I'll tell you, my parting shot is to encourage every one of you to get out to the Reynolds Center and see this basketball team. This is Tulsa's team. They've been in Tulsa forever and ever. And if you haven't seen good basketball, I'm going to tell you, they're playing about as well as they've played in years, as Barry and Bill both said. I encourage you, everyone, to get out there, be a part of that Hurricane magic. Well, next week, guys, we're going to have a white hat on, Clay Martin, who is a referee in the National Football League, who is having an outstanding year as the head coach at Jinx. And I'm sure we'll be able to talk some football, but we'll also be able to talk some basketball, I think, and get his feelings on how the playoffs will pair out here as we get ready to. The next 2 weeks are going to be critical. Wins and losses are really something. We had a call today from the Activity Association that there were 2 scores missing on one of our teams. And Mr. Whaley said we need to have those 2 scores. We've got to have those. So I know they're looking at it right now, and every Tuesday and Friday is big for all the high school basketball teams.
Well, Clay Martin has been an official at the NFL level. In fact, he wasn't an official at the college level for too terribly long before he got into the NFL in 2015. So, and I think Clay is still a principal, maybe, or an assistant principal.
He's a community liaison for public relations.
Okay. Well, it's just this turnaround that Jinx basketball has executed, very impressive. And I think, Barry, did you mention only a couple of years ago they won 3 games or something? So.
Yes, it was recently, and this is his 3rd year back and a 2nd time around as Jinx's head coach.
Right. So, I don't know how much you can really ask him about NFL matters because the league's pretty tight on what you can and can't discuss with their officials. But man. Maybe off the record, you can take him off to the side and ask him some stuff.
Well, we'll have Clay at Bricktown at 33rd in Peoria, so join us there. We start taping at 5 o'clock, and you can join us for dinner.